Hello and welcome everyone. How you are doing? This is Kumar Saurav and you are watching this channel screens. So today we are going to create a React Native UI based on a Dribbble design which I found. So we'll be working with the design of a music app designed by this designer called Hazem Muhammad. And this is the design I found on Dribbble. So I'll be designing the first screen, which looks like a home screen, which is having a dark theme to it. And on the bottom we have a translucent tab bar. The tab bar looks a bit challenging to implement, so let's see how we implement it. And this is the final outcome in React Native. So we have the navigation bar here, a hot recommended section with a horizontal scroll. Then we have a hot playlist section and it has all the playlists. And on the bottom we have this tab bar which is translucent. So let's get started. But before that, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really encourages me to make more videos like this. Let's start by creating a React app. So in order to create a React app, I will use the command npx react native and I'll init a project called, let's call it music app. This will take some time. Let's wait for the app to get created. I like using React Native CLI to create new apps rather than Expo. Okay, now we have our app created. Let's open it into VS Code. Okay, so this is the default directory structure which we get, but I would like to move app inside a folder called app. I'll create a folder called app and move the app.js inside this. Okay, and in index.js now, and in index.js I will import app from the folder app. Okay, so this should be fine. Now I'll start the emulator by running this command called npm run android, and I'll open another terminal to run the node server which will serve the JS bundle. To start that, I'll do npm start. Let me position the window here. Okay, and I will open the mocks here as well for reference. So this is what we are going to develop, and this is our emulator. Get rid of all this. Okay, so this is the default screen. I'll open the app.js file here, remove the stuff which I don't need. So I will remove everything in fact and start creating the React component from scratch. So I can use import React, and then I'll make a function and call the function app, and then export the app. Okay, one thing I like to use is style components. So let us install style components. Okay, so in order to install a style component, I'll run this command called npm install --save and style components. Okay, so this time we have successfully installed the style components. Okay, cool. Let's go back to app.js, and then I'll start importing the style component here, and let's create a component called container. Style.view. Let's create an empty view here and then add a text. Okay, and sorry, should be const, and then I will create a return this container and add a text inside it. So Let's do it on create a container and then create a text and just say hi. Okay, let's reload and check if everything is working fine. Now you can see that we have this text called hi and everything works fine. Let's start by creating the status bar. So status bar, basically we need to add a status bar here. Bar, okay, and let's include a status bar inside an empty container here. So what I'll do is okay, we now have our status bar and I need to change the color to black. So let's do that by adding an attribute to style status bar. So basically what you need to do, so you can do it like this as well. So we can have background color, it is equal to black. Okay, now you can see that the color of the status bar is black, and we can do the same thing here as well. So we can access the attributes here like this. Okay, and we can call it background color equal to black and get rid of this, add it inside this. Now you can see that we have the access the attribute inside the style component itself. You can access the prop as well, so you can have the props like this, and then you can access the props here as well. Since I don't need props, I'll just remove it. Okay, so now we have status bar which is done, which is completely black, and then there is a container here. Okay, and that color is also black, so I will okay, so let's change the color to black. It is very hard sometimes to see what is going on if the background is black, but I'll change it for now, and then if needed I'll change it to some other color. Okay, so this should be like this. Okay, and we need to give it a flex of 1. Okay, cool, and everything should be in white then, so the text color should be white. Okay, so the whole screen is black with the white text. What I'll start adding is, let's start by adding this top nav bar. Okay, so the nav bar has 3 parts to it. One is the icon with the hamburger menu, then there is this search text box with icon, and then the profile. Okay, so let's start by adding the icons first. So in order to add the icons, I'll just create a folder called images. Okay, and I'll create another folder called components. We'll place all our components inside this folder and images inside this. So I have a bunch of images which I'll paste it here, which is needed. So the hamburger icon, the search, the like, tracks, discover, albums, and all these kind of icons. I have downloaded it from material icons, so I'll just paste. Okay, so these are the images which I need. Mostly these are the icons and some backgrounds. Okay, we don't need this. Yeah, so this is the icons. Okay, so I'm going to create a new file called index.js and import all the files inside this so we can access it easily. So I will create images and have icons, and then we can have placeholders, and then we can export images. Okay, cool. And then what we'll go start doing is create this icons. Let's start by doing that. We can acquire and let's start by creating components for it. So we'll create a component called icons. Let's call it icon. Okay, icon.js. Okay, this component I'll use for all the icons. So let's create component here. Let's import some. Okay, and then let's have a container here as well. Dot view. Okay, and then we can add an image here. Dot image. Okay, and create a function called icon. Okay, and we can have two props here. Okay, one is name, and then the other one we can take it as size. And let's export the function icon. Okay, and then return. Let's have container, and let's have icon. Sorry, image. Okay, now we need to add image here, so we can have source and let's import image here. Image. And then we can have image dot icons, and then we can pass on the name, and for size we can have size here. So I'll show you how I'm going to use it. Sorry, so this should be not here, so it is size equal to size. Okay, I just changed the name of this thing to images, so it does not clash with this image. Okay, and what we need to do here is we need to provide certain height and width, but I would like to provide a default height and width, and if we pass on the size, I would like to change the height and width to that size. So in order to get the props here, we can do it like this. Set size, and we can provide or, and we can change it to 24 pixels. Okay, so basically what it does is, like, if you provide the size, it's gonna take that size, otherwise it's gonna change it to 24 pixels. So let's do it same for the width as well. So now we have a height and width which will default to 24 pixels, and if we pass on the size, it will take the size. Okay, so now let's check that if it is working or not. For that I need to import icons from /component/icon. Okay, so we have imported icon. Let's put it inside the container here. So icon name, let's call it okay. Now we have the hamburger icon here. Let's check the size as well. Let's check the size prop. Okay, so now you can see the size has increased, so both the props are working fine. And now what I'm going to do is, let's start creating the component and call it navigation bar, navbar.js. So this will contain the menu, the search input, and then the profile image. Okay, let's start by importing it, and then we'll import style component as well. Let's start by creating a container. Style.view. We'll also create a avatar. And it will be a styled image. Okay, let's create a function called navbar, and then export the navbar here. Let's return container, and we also need to import the icon. Icon name is equal to, we'll leave the default size as it is. Okay, let's import that navbar in the app.js so we can see it. Okay, let's import bar from ./component/navbar, and I remove everything here and put the navbar. So now you can see we have our navbar here and this icon on the top left. Okay, we need to so let's call it align items. So let's align everything to center. Okay, and flex direction will be row. Okay, let's add some padding. So padding is 8 pixels, 16 pixels. I am using a shorthand here, which means top and bottom padding will be 8 pixels and left and right padding will be 16 pixels. Let's go ahead and add the avatar as well. So let's give the height to 48 pixels and width array to be 48 pixels. Okay, and then we'll include it inside this. Okay, and in the source we need to provide image. Okay, so let's import images images dot placeholders dot avatar. That is it, I think. Okay, so we need to add placeholders here, so let's call it avatar require dot slash t. Okay, so we don't need it here, so since it is not an icon, we'll remove it from here and move it to placeholder. Okay, now you can see that we have our avatar here. Let's add some border radius to make it round. We'll add a border radius of 24 pixels, which will make it round. Okay, and let's add space between so it is apart from each other. So we'll add a justify content to space between. Okay, now you can see it is apart from each other, sticking at the end. Okay, so now we want to have the search component, so I'll go ahead and create a search component really quick. Let's call it search box. Let's create a, as usual, we want to create a container here, and it will be a styled view. Okay, then create a input. It will be a styled text input. Let's get a function. Search box and export search box, and let's return container and then the input. Okay, we are going to import that here. So search box from that slash search box and sorry, search box, and then I'm going to place it here. Okay, I think we have the search box now, but I cannot see it since it is all black. Let's go to search box and start styling the container, and we need an icon also on the left, so let's import icon. On dot slash icon. Okay, let's place an icon here, and the name of the icon would be search. Okay, now you can see the search icon there, but we need to change the flex direction here to row. Okay, let's go ahead and add a background color as well. So I'll add a background color 32, 32, 32. So now you can see the background color has changed. Let's provide a height, 80 pixels. Let's call it flex 1. Okay, so flex 1 will make stretch it in the empty space. Let's have a border radius of 20, anything else, so anything above 16 pixels should work. Let's give it a 16 pixels of border radius. Let's add padding, and the padding would be 0 and 8 pixels. So we don't want to add top and bottom padding, but we need to add left and right padding. Then we also add margin, and it will be 0, 32 pixels. Okay, so now you can see it is getting padded. Okay, everything is fine. We need to center everything inside this. Align items, center. So now you can see this has been centered here. Okay, and let's change the input color to be white. So since if we type anything, it should be white. Okay, let's change this to flex. Now you can see whatever we type, it is typed in white. Okay, let's provide a size. Okay, let's provide it a placeholder here. Placeholder, and the placeholder here is search album song, and I'll add artist as well. Okay, since the placeholder text is still in black, we need to change that. So in order to change that, I will use the attribute here. So we can do .add attributes and with something like this. Yeah, and placeholder color, placeholder text color, I will add the placeholder text color as A2, A2 and A2. Okay, now we can see that it is in some gray color. Yes, justify content to center. Okay, now you can see that we have our text in white, but the placeholder color is in gray. Okay, let's go ahead and start creating our hot recommended section. So in order to create the hot recommended section, we are going to open the app.js, and let's get rid of this text because we don't need it. We have the container, then we have status bar. I'll move this up. Okay, let's create a title text. So we are going to call it title style.text. Okay, and I'm going to add a title here. Let's add a title called hot. Okay, now you can see the hot recommended is there. Since we want to move it inside the scroll, what I'm going to do is move it inside this. Okay, a container flex 1, background white. Okay, so the title needs to be in white, so I'll add the color called white. Okay, now we can see the hot recommended text as well. Let's style it. We have the color white. Let's change the font size. Font size will be 24 pixels, and font weight, let's change it to 700. So most of the styling I am just eyeballing it, so it might not be accurate. And since this needs to be scrolling, so let's change this view to scroll view. And also, since we need to have certain padding styling to it, I'll create another container called title container style dot view. Okay, and put the title inside the title container. So this was not necessary here really, but since there's another title here which has the button, so I'm creating a title container here. Okay, so we can control the padding at the same place. So the title container will be, the flex direction will be obviously row. So just keep this thing in mind, and I will add the flex direction as row, justify content as space between, and align items to be center. And then we are going to add a padding of 16 pixels. Okay, so now you can see it is well padded now. Okay, now let's go ahead and start creating this scroll view which will scroll horizontally. For that, but we need to first create this big card view. So what I'm going to call this card as a big card. So let's create a component called big card. Okay. Okay, and then we'll start with our container. View, and let's add function big card and export it for default big card. Okay, let's go ahead and add. So let's add something else as well, which is album art. So let's add album art is equal to style dot image. So this album art will be an image, and let's go ahead and add some styling to it. So let's add a width of 320 pixels and a height of 160 pixels, and then we can add a border radius also of 8 pixels, and then have a margin bottom of 60 pixels. Let's go ahead and add the width to container as well. So the container width will be 320 pixels, and let's add a margin of 16 pixels. Okay, so let's return the container and put album art inside that. Okay, let's get rid of this. Okay. Let's add the source. Okay, first let's go ahead and add this album, this big card inside the app so we can see it. And we also need to have a horizontal scroll view, so I'll add the horizontal scroll view as well. Okay, so let's add a scroll view and call it recommended. Let's call it, okay, so let's call it horizontal scroll view, and this will be a style dot scroll view. So I am going to put the recommended scroll view here, horizontal scroll view, and inside that I'll put a big card. Big card. So big card will have certain props passed to it, which we haven't picked up here. So let's do that. So basically this needs 3 props: album art, song, and album. Okay, so this art, the song name, and the album. Okay, so we're gonna use source, and we're gonna see it is an URI, and URI will be the album art. Okay, let's have, so let's start with this and pass the URL. So album art. Okay, let's pick up some album art. Okay, so you can see that this album art shows up here. Let's go ahead and add a couple of more. Okay, now you can see it is this scroll view is vertical, but we want to make it horizontal. So in order to make it horizontal, we just need to add a attribute called horizontal. And it will be true. Okay, now you can see it is scrolling horizontally, so that is cool. Let's go ahead and add the song name and the album as well. So let's add song name style dot text. Okay, and have style dot text. So this will be styled. Okay, and what we are going to do is have this song name, and then we are also going to have album name. Okay, and let's go ahead and pass it. So it will be song equal to something and album. Okay, let's call it something. So let's change the color to white. So now you can see the text showing in white. Okay, so now we have the text. Let's change the font size a little bit. for song it should be 16 pixels, and let's add a font weight as well, and font weight should be 700 to make it more bold. And for this I think the font size should be 14. Okay, cool. Now you can see that the font size is fine. What I'm going to do is change the sound of water and change the album to Denise Brewer. Okay, and now you can see that we have this thing which is good enough. So now we have our hot recommended section all done. Let's go ahead and add the next scroll view, which is hot playlist. So in order to do that, I will create another scroll view. So but before that, we need this top playlist title with the button. So let's go ahead and copy this, and we are going to paste it somewhere here. Okay, and instead of this hot recommended thing, we need to change it to hot playlist. Okay, playlist. Okay, now we have our hot playlist here. We need to add the button as well, so I'll quickly create a button component and add it here. So let's call this as button.js. We'll do it like the same thing. Okay, and then I'm going to import this thing here, and then let's go ahead and create a component called container, and it will be a styled component, touchable opacity. Okay, and then we have a text. Let's call it style.text. Okay, and then we'll create a function called button. And we'll export that button. Okay, let's have a prop called text, and then we are going to return the touchable opacity. Sorry, the container here, and inside that we have text, and then the text will add text like this. Okay, and let's go ahead and add this button in the app.js file. So I'm going to import it here. Put button from ./component/button. Okay, and then I'm going to add a button here. Okay, and let's have a prop called view all. Okay, we cannot see the button as of now. Let's see. We need to change the color here. Color to white. Okay, now you can see that we have a button called view all here. Okay, and let's style the button text and add weight to it. Let's add font weight of 700. Okay, and actually the text should be black. So, but we need to make this touchable opacity white. So let's do that first. White. Let's switch this to black. Okay, now you can see the text with the white background. Let's align them to center, and then justify content to center as well. So this will align the text horizontally and vertically. Let's add some padding. So padding, we need to add 4 pixels and 16 pixels. So top and bottom 4 pixels and left and right 16 pixels. Let's have a border radius. Of, let's say, 32 pixels. So now we have our view all button, which is almost similar to the button here. Okay, so far everything looks good. Now let's go ahead and add another scroll view here, so that we have this scroll for hot playlist. Okay, but first I think we need a component for this. Let's call it probably so what component we should call it? It should be a playlist box or something like that. Let's go ahead and create that first. Okay, so I'll create a file called playlist card. Playlist card.js. Start with a container. Style.view. Let's have an album art. Art. Let's call it style.image. And let's have another thing called playlist name. So we'll call it name. Style.text. Okay, and then we need these two text here. So let's call it so let's call that probably caption. In the text. Okay, and let's create our function called playlist card. Playlist card, and we'll have props called, so let's have a prop called album art, name, likes, and tracks. And then we are going to export the playlist card here. Let's make a default export. Okay, let's return the container, and inside the container we'll have album art. Okay, and in the album art we'll pass the album art URI here, so it will be source URI equal to, so this URI should be album art. Okay, now we are going to add name. Okay, and let's go ahead and add the name as name here. Okay, let's go ahead and create likes or caption, which will contain likes. And then we have tracks. Oh, sorry, we again have caption, and then we can call it, we can have tracks inside it. Okay, so we have this all these four props passed to different components. Let's go ahead and add another scroll view. This scroll view will be the vertical scroll view, and this will be styled dot scroll view. And let's go ahead and add something. Okay, let's have the vertical scroll view, and we are going to add vertical scroll view, and inside this vertical scroll view I'm going to add this playlist card. Okay, and let's pass a name equals to, let's call it my classic list. Okay, and obviously this name should be white, so I'm going to add color white here. Okay, you can see the my classic list appear here. So let's go ahead and add some album art as well. So album art, so I'll copy this. Let's copy this here. Okay, and we gonna pass likes and tracks as well. Okay, so let's call it likes. Let's have likes equal to, suppose we can pass 10 here. So sorry, likes are 235, and then tracks are 30. Okay, now let's go ahead and add the text color white to caption. White. Okay, cool. Now let's style a card. So let me add a couple of these first. Okay, so I'm going to copy this. Sorry, we need to copy this. Okay, this card, and we need to end it. So we now have two cards here, and let's add up another view called playlist row, or let's call it horizontal row, and this will be a view, and I'm going to change the flex direction here to row, and let's put these two cards inside that row. So let's call it horizontal row. Okay, okay, now you can see it is like horizontally aligned, and in the horizontal row the justify content should be spaced evenly. So these two are spaced evenly now. Okay, let's go to the playlist card and style some things here. So the first problem which we are having is that we are not seeing the album art. So let's go ahead and add that. I guess it is not showing up because we don't have the height and width for the album art here. So I'm going to add that. So let's go add the width to be 160 pixels and then margin to be 16 pixels. Let's reload this. Okay, and then we will also have this width to be 160 pixels and margin to be 16 pixels. Okay, but we are still not able to see the album art. Let's check out why it is happening. Okay, so we need to add the height as well. So I skipped the height. So height should be 160 pixels. Okay, now you can see that we have the image as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove the space evenly here. Okay, and what we are going to do is, so we are going to have this rounded this thing, so rounded corner. So we need to add border radius of 8 pixels. Okay, and we are going to provide some margin at the bottom. Okay, so margin bottom should be 16 pixels. Okay, now you can see that it is properly padded between the title and the album art. So let's go ahead and quickly style the name and the caption as well. So name, so we need to add weight here. Let's add font weight of 700 here, and then add a font size of 16 pixels. Okay, cool. So this is, I think, is matching this. And let's style the caption as well. So caption is color is white, font size is 14 pixels. Okay, and so, and now we need a container here as well, so we can have this aligned in a row. So let's have constant, let's just call it row style dot view, and we are just going to add a flex direction to it as row, and put both the caption inside that row. Now you can see that we have this, both the numbers are in a row, but we need to separate it out. So in order to separate it out, we need to add justify content to space between. Okay, now you can see that it is apart. Now let's go ahead and add the icons as well. So in order to add icon, I'll just import the icons here. Import icon, and we'll import it from components. Okay, and here we need to add two icons, one for the like and one for the tracks. So the icons are likes and tracks. So let's go ahead and do that. Icon name is likes, and let's change this to tracks. Okay, so now we have two icons and we need to change the size. Let's change the size to 18 pixels. So we'll change the size to 18 pixels. Yeah, let's go ahead and do it same for this one as well. Size equal to 18 pixels. Okay, now we have these both the icons as well, but I would like to put them inside this container so that it is properly aligned. So let's call it the caption container. Okay, let's call this caption container style dot text. Oh, sorry, this will be a view. Okay, let's put both of them inside that caption container. Let's close this out. Let's do it same for this one as well. Caption container. Paste it here. Okay, now we have put it inside the container. Let's style this container in the plus direction to row. Let's dismiss this. Yeah, now we have this. Okay, so we had this container and we changed the flex direction to row. Let's add some padding as well. So in the text we can have a padding here, padding of 8 pixels. Okay, and let's have an item center. I can align properly. One thing I need to add here is let's add tracks like this, so it shows up 30 tracks. Let's go ahead and add another row here. So I'll add another row. Okay, we need to close out this horizontal row. Okay, now you can see that we have this done here. So let's go ahead and change the album art for these playlists so it looks good. So I'll copy this. So now you can see that we have this, most of the things which are in place. Let's go to the most trickiest part, which is this bottom navigation, which has some kind of a translucent look, so that the album arts are transfused through this bottom tab bar. So let's go ahead and create that. So in order to create it, I will import a library in the React Native community. That library is called as React Native Blur View. So let me check it first. So this is the library I am going to use to blur it. So let's go ahead and install it. To install it, we need to copy this command here. Let's close this out. Okay, now we have our library installed. Let's go ahead and create a component. Let's call this component TabBar, and then as always I'll import React and then style components, and let's go ahead and create a container first. Let view. Okay, and let's create a function called TabBar and export it. Export default TabBar. Okay, so now we have this empty component here. Let's go ahead and add the icons and this blurred view. So in order to have a blurred view, we need to import blur view from @React Native blur. And if we need to style a component, a custom component, we need call this a style blur view, and we're gonna pass it like this. Okay, so whatever, we can use this blur view to style our custom, so we can use it like this to style our custom components. Okay, so let's go ahead and put it like this. So let's return the container. Inside that I'll have style blur view. Okay, and let's import that into the app. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, now we have this thing here. Let's go ahead and add some height. So the blur's view height would be 80 pixels. Now you can see it is at the bottom here. So we also need to do certain things. Okay, so first I'll style my icons and everything. So let's import icon from /icon, and so we need to create another container. So basically how does this style blur view works is that you need to position everything which comes on top as an absolute layout on top of the blur view. So I'm going to use this content component. So I'm going to use this content. Okay, so let's call it view here. Okay, and I'm going to position this absolutely on top of the style blurred view. So let's call this position as absolute. I'm going to create 2 more icon with text. So basically it will be a styled view. Create icon text, and it will be style.text. Okay, and the color should be white, and let's leave that like that. And I'm putting everything inside the content. Let's call it icon with text. Let's put icon on top. Let's name it as, so first one is discover. So discover. Okay, now you can see that the icon is coming up, and we can have an icon text. Okay, and let's change this to discover as well. Okay, Now let's go ahead and style this first. So in order to style it, the icon with text will be align items will be center, and justify content will also be center, so it is aligned both vertically and horizontally. So we need to have this flex direction. Okay, so let me create a couple of these again. So we need 4 icons here. I'll just create them. Okay, so we need this content to change to row. So let me do that. Flex direction will be row. Okay, now we can see that it is aligned. Sorry, it is now the direction has changed to row. We'll justify content to space around. Okay, and I think it should be flex grow 1. Okay, so nothing is happening since this is absolutely positioned. I think we need to have top 0, bottom 0, right 0, and left 0. So now this layout has been stretched, so we have our icons properly placed. Now let's go ahead and quickly change these icons. These are the 4 icons which I have used. Okay, so this is all fine, but what you might be seeing here is that the background is still not blurred, so we need to add a blur view. So we have added a blur view here, so we need to position the container absolutely. So position, this should be absolute, and bottom will be 0, left will be 0, and right will be 0. Okay, so now we can see the blur effect going. Okay, now we want to manipulate this blur view so it matches our blur view like this. So one thing we have noticed here that this overlay is happening for the whole view. I don't know why it is, but I found a way around it. So if we add this overlay, okay, let's add this overlay color and keep this overlay color as empty. So now we can see that the only bottom tab bar is getting blurred. Okay, now we are going to tweak it a little bit more. So let's add blur type and let's call it light. Okay, let's call it dark, and change and play around with this blur radius. And let's put blur radius 10, blur amount also as 10. So basically we need to play around with these two values so it matches close to this. So let's reduce the blur amount to 3 and let's bump this up to 25. So in my opinion, I think you can change these parameters according to your needs. So I'm not able to exactly match what it is here, but I think it is close enough. I'll do a couple of more changes, like so we need to add this padding here. So basically you can see that the bottom this thing is getting hidden. Let's change it here. So in the app.js we had this scroll view which was vertical. So let's go ahead and add a margin bottom of 80 pixels. Oh, I think this should do the trick. Yeah, now you can see that I'm able to scroll the full scroll view here, and this is not getting hidden behind the tab bar. This is it. I think we have added the top navigation, hot recommended section with the horizontal scroll. Then we have this top playlist, and the most tricky part, which was the tab bar with the blurred view. So you can see it is kind of matching what we had in this design. So if you like this video, if you found it helpful, please do like and subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to me, and it's always keeps me inspiring to make these videos. Thank you very much.